welcome to Pearl Perspectives. On today's episodes, we talk about crafting on a tight budget and we give you 5 tips to elevate your knitting or crochet game without breaking the bank.
Why, hello there. This is Kahin from Pearl's Perspective with a friendly disclaimer. We are not financial planners or personal finance professionals. The content of this video is simply our personal opinions and friendly suggestions and should not be taken as professional advice. Enjoy the video. Hello and welcome to another episode of Pearls of Wisdom. I'm Kahin. This is
Anaï.
And this is
I'm Allie.
And today we're talking about crafting on a budget and how to do this and elevate your game no matter where you are without, breaking the bank, regardless of whatever budget you have. So without further ado, here are 5 tips to help you.
Number 1, ask around.
So that's the easiest one. Ask family members, friends, even colleagues, if they have family members themselves who knit, right? Ask around. Ask for people who may, if you have somebody in your family who you already know is a knitter, or a friend, or somebody else to just give you some of their, stash or something they're not using themselves. Mm-hmm. So you're starting without having to spend any money at all, right? You can also ask about not just yarn, but needles, any accessory. Yeah. They can also obviously give you tips.
Everybody has an aunt or a grandma or an uncle or a cousin that tried different crafts and is now not doing that anymore. And I promise you, we will give you stuff for free.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised that once you start crafting, knitting, crocheting, whatever, and other people start knowing about that, they're like, oh my God, my grandmother has so much stuff and she doesn't need it anymore. Can I give it to you? You'd be surprised how much stuff you get offered.
Yep.
Unsolicited.
This is what happens to me at work. I've had people come up to me and are like, so I have this whole bag of yarn. Do you want it? I'm like, I will not say no.
Sometimes you don't even have to ask. Just talking about the fact that you're going on this skill building journey and that you're trying it out and then it's your first time. Sometimes that's enough for people to volunteer free stuff for you. And honestly, it's the best thing you can do for your budget is not buy stuff right from the beginning because you don't know what you're gonna like.
Yep. And even if you are already like a knitter established a bit as a knitter or crocheter, it's still good to not spend money. Right? So a free tip is always the best.
That's what your knitting group is for. They'll help you figure out what you like.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Great tip.
So start with free stuff.
Yeah. Allie, what's the next tip?
So tip number 2, start small.
So starting small is essentially going to the Walmarts of the world, the Michaels, even the Dollarama, the places that you're like, wait, there's yarn there? You've probably seen it and never really thought about it and just like moved on. And they don't necessarily have the super high quality stuff, but that's not the point. Though. It's still great. Exactly. It's still great yarn. You're not going to break the bank. You still have a lot of really nice user-friendly yarn, especially like cotton-based or things that are like really good for baby making clothes. So why not use that as your first, segue into buying yarn? So start with those.
In a lot of places in the world, the supermarket will have yarn and craft supplies. Maybe not in great quantity, but when I was starting out and I was on a university budget, which is pretty much zero, what I could afford was to go to Walmart, to go to where I was living, there was H-E-B, and they had yarn there. It wasn't like 100% wool, but I could find good mixes, or a lot of cotton yarn is available very affordably almost everywhere. They have craft supplies. So just try your local supermarket and try going for something from Michael's. If you do have a Michael's where you live, every time you go, they have a 50% off coupon.
Yeah, always check online.
So buy the big 1 pound kind of ball, and that'll take you really far for half price every time.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd be surprised as to where you can find supplies. I was a kid who grew up going to Home Depot with my dad, and I remember on one occasion coming across a 3-pound ball of twine, hemp twine, that was used for like fencing, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was deep in my friendship bracelet era. And I was like, Daddy, please. And he was like, yes, it's a $5 3-pound ball of twine.
And it'll keep you entertained
I
for
made
like 6 hours?
friendship bracelets for like so many friends that summer. And it was the best $5 my dad had ever spent on my free time. So just keep your head on a swivel. You never know when you're going to find it.
Exactly. Think about those places that are, you wouldn't think necessarily yarn is sold there, or if you do, it's not necessarily your first go-to place. It should be, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's tip number 2.
Tip number 3 is upcycle, reuse.
Yeah, so that one is a really fun one. Essentially, first, go through your own closet. Is there a sweater that you haven't really worn in like 3 years? Maybe it's too small, too big, uncomfortable, whatever. Frog it, and then do something else with it. You could also modify it. You don't necessarily have to frog the whole thing, but you could modify it to make it more your style. And if you don't necessarily have something in your own closet or somebody else's closet, you could also just go to a thrift store and just see what they have over there. So you go through, they usually have a sweaters or knit section, go through it, and then if there's, touch the fabric. If there's fabric that you like, the color, the texture, the feel, whatever, just buy it. It's probably going to cost you a few dollars. Same thing, frog it or modify it. And this way you can actually get really good yarn, because sometimes they do have like these little finds where the person donated it not knowing the kind of yarn.
And it's like a
sweater
sweater or something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, excuse you, is this cashmere? So yeah, do that.
And you'd also be surprised the number of handmade things you can find in a thrift store. When people are going through their closets and they're like, I don't need this anymore, and they donate it really without thinking. But sometimes you'll find someone's old hand-knit sweater, or a dress that they sewed for themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Check out, if you're going to the thrift store, check out the linen section. There's usually a few handmade blankets in there. Almost every time we go to the thrift store, there is a handmade blanket of some kind.
Yeah.
And that is such a large amount of yarn. And even if you don't find something that you can unravel to reuse the yarn, there's already a little bit of a culture for secondhand crafting materials start appearing in thrift stores pretty often. So if you have a Value Village or a Salvation Army where you live, go in and check the craft section where they have like gift wrapping paper and toys and tools and whatnot. They most likely will have a bag of yarn.
And if you're a little bit intimidated at the thought of unraveling a sweater by yourself, there are several people who, on Etsy, on Instagram, who do that already, and you can purchase unraveled sweaters, essentially. So just poke around, see if you're comfortable trying it yourself, do it, and if not, find those people online.
There's also a really great tutorial by Engineering Knits here on YouTube, where she takes you through how she breaks up a sweater from the thrift store to recover the yarn. She even made her own electric Swift to unravel it without using her hands. So you don't have to go that far, of course. But the point is, there's a lot of material that exists in the world already. So why not take it and make it into something that you like more? You'll even be saving the planet.
And we'll link that video down below.
And you might even realize that you really like frogging. I know it's weird, but it can be very meditative, like to just relax and frog something. So that was tip number 3.
Tip number 4. Pay yourself when you knit or crochet.
Yeah, so that's probably my favorite one in this whole list. This is not my tip. This is somebody else who mentioned this, and they found out from a YouTuber. Now, I don't know the name of the YouTuber, so I'm sorry. I believe they're based in France. That's as much as as far as I know. But shout out to them if they see this. So this is not my tip. This is very much their tip, but I think it's brilliant. And it's paying yourself every time you start a project, paying yourself every time you buy a new skein of yarn, and paying yourself every time you use within your own stash, and paying yourself when you finish a project. So you can decide what price your price tag goes with it. So in our example, a new project would be $3. So every time you start a project, you just have a little jar, $3 in. A new skein of yarn, $1. If it's from your own stash, 50 cents, because you want to use your stash. And when it's completed, $3. Now you can $5, $1, you do whatever dollars you want. But the idea is that this way, when you've done a few projects within a few months, you'll realize, hey, I may have enough for a nice skein of yarn, or two, or three, or maybe Knit City. Who knows?
And I love the idea of giving yourself that kind of motivation. Like, I'm going to tip myself when I get to this milestone. So if I'm working on a large project that maybe I'm stuck in Sleeve Island, who hasn't been there, right? I can say, as soon as I finish this sleeve, I'm going to like tip myself $10. And that goes into my yarn budget jar.
Yeah.
And when I finish the other sleeve, I'm going to tip myself another $10, right? And it motivates you because it's a way of saving without really feeling like you're saving. You're just patting yourself on the back for having done a good job.
Gamify it in whatever way works for you. I know that if it was me, I would definitely have an extra, like, put $5 in the jar if you finish something that's you started 2 years ago. Like,
exactly.
gamify it in a way that works for you.
Yeah, that's what's nice about this particular idea is you make it your own, right?
Yeah.
If you prefer to tip yourself, like you said, during specific milestones, then do that. And again, the prices are up to you. It's really just a kind of a reward and a really nice way to save without knowing you're saving. And I mean, it's like the swear jar, but for knitting. And then by like a year, exactly, by like a year later, you're like, oh, do I have enough for a vacation somewhere?
Yeah, that actually might be a fun way to do it. If you are like us and you live close to a very large yarn festival that happens once a year, well, you make that your jar for that trip. So we go to Knit City every year in the spring. Start now. By the time of March of next year,
you have a little cash saved up.
Yeah. Maybe it's enough to be your spending budget for the or
maybe it'll cover the cost of your train ticket to get there.
Exactly. Either way, it doesn't matter. What matters is you're paying yourself, and it feels good to get rewarded for finishing or starting something.
I agree.
Yeah,
I like that one. Rewards.
That's a good one.
Gamify your life.
Yeah.
You could also make it donuts if you want. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't translate into yarn afterwards, but it does translate into motivation.
Yes. Yes, it does. So that was tip number 4.
And tip number 5, although I do have a bonus tip.
Ooh, love that.
But tip number 5, join a crafting community.
I mean, we could not put that one. Like, it had to be there.
Community.
So essentially, a community can help you get yarn. It sounds a little innocuous, but the point is, yes, we help. We can help you find the yarn that you need. We can help you either because we have yarn or we know where to get the yarn. Same thing with tips, same thing with accessories, needles, whatnot. It's a good way to just get extra resources. And if you, or more importantly, if you also have problems with your knitting, or you're trying to, get over that hump of something that you've been trying and YouTube is not helping, your community's there for you.
Sometimes you just gotta talk it through.
And you'll be surprised how generous people are. In our knitting community here in Ottawa, there's multiple crafting groups around town that people go to. The one that we run, we have a persistent chat going on online for during the week when we're not meeting, and we have there a little bit of a space for people to share what they don't want anymore. And that's a way for everyone to sort of lower the cost of our art and also share the wealth with other people. So very often people will come to our knit night with stuff to give away or stuff that somebody else gave them and it's not their style, so they share. So I really, really encourage you to, if you can help it, don't knit alone.
Yes. We have, for example, in our knitting group, we host every early December, a big yarn swap.
Yes.
So people get a chance to go through their stashes and they get to pull things out of their stashes that maybe they're not super fond of anymore, or maybe it's the last skein from a project that they didn't end up needing, and we have a chance to bring it in, and then we swap around. So something that I no longer need, I part with, and oh my God, that's a skein of sock yarn that my friend doesn't need anymore. Well, that's going to come home with me.
Yeah.
And so we have the opportunity to spread the wealth and share the wealth. And then we also have our community bag as well, whereas when we receive these gifts and these kinds of donations from other folks whose maybe their grandparents or their neighbor didn't want it anymore, well, then we can use that to get people started, right? So if you do have a knitting group close to you, look in, ask around, check to see if there's a community bag. There's probably a community bag.
There's probably a community bag.
And then the last little tip about that is that your community can also help you with events. So if you don't really know anything about what's happening in the knitting world or the crocheting world, crafting in general, they can tell you about like this event that's coming along or the other event that's coming along, right? So it's also nice because you get to share a little bit of into the social aspect of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was tip number 5. What is your bonus tip?
Bonus! Okay, so the bonus tip is for those of us that really we are knitting because we like the process and the time-consuming aspect of knitting and crocheting and making fiber art. And for that, I would say the value for money of using very thin lace weight or fingering yarn versus chunky yarn will take you literally miles further.
Yes.
So
Good
you
one.
can choose to spend $30 on a ball of chunky yarn that is 89 yards that will make a really pretty sweater, but you need 10 of them.
Yep.
Or you can choose to spend your $30 on a really nice skein of 400 yards of fingering weight yarn. And the amount of time that you will spend knitting, the enjoyment that you get out of it will be much longer than that of the chunky yarn. So if you're doing this just because you want to spend your time doing something that you love, think about using smaller yarn, thinner yarn, so you can do it for longer, have more fun, but spend the same amount of money.
That's a really good
That's a
tip.
really good one, yeah. Yeah. 100%.
All right.
Well,
so
that was it.
That's it.
There's always more tips to be had, so if you have any that we haven't covered, please feel free to drop them in the comments below and share that knowledge wealth with everyone around us.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you learned something. We hope we could share a little bit of our knowledge with you. And join us next time for another Pearls of Wisdom. We've been your Pearls.
Oh, I'm Allie.
Get in.
And Anai, and we'll see you again.
Bye. Bye.